Like one of our core values is that we continually learn and improve.
Your sales, your employees, your SOPs, what their roles are. Like as a leader, you set the expectation of what you want them to do, but you don't just leave that shit be and never meet with them about it again.
You don't want to deliver a half-assed product to your market just because you're rushing it out.
And we live. Welcome back to the Mission Control Podcast, episode 11 already. Fun fact, I was looking it up earlier today. I think it was something around 50% of podcasts don't have more than 10 episodes. So this is an earth-shattering moment for Ascend Digital and the Mission Control Podcast. Today we've got Joseph Hughes. What up, Joseph?
What's up, my man? I'm honored to be here, man. I'm just disappointed I wasn't number one, but I'll take 11. That's cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, we take 1-1 out of the equation, and it's like you're number one. No big deal.
All right.
Yep, this episode's sponsored by our guys over at Roofer. Great company. Go check them out. So who is Joseph Hughes, and what is Contractor Dynamics?
Man, that's a big question there. I'll try to be somewhat succinct here. So Contractor Dynamics is a marketing training company for the construction industry. We've been around almost 10 years now. Still feel like a scrappy startup because, we're just kind of in it every day and all that. So I love that feeling. But yeah, that's what we do. Marketing training for construction companies. We equip people and companies with the tools to transform and grow. That all stemmed, I don't know how deep you want me to go, but I
Just
grew
keep
up.
going.
People are like, oh, how'd you get in, like, why roofing, right? It's like no one chooses roofing, roofing chooses you, right? Contracting chooses you. I grew up in my family's construction business here in New Jersey and up in New York City. Started when I was 14 out in Brooklyn, New York, out in the shipyard. And that was my first job and my first taste of the construction industry. So worked there summers, manual labor for many years, summers, and then breaks during school and everything like that. And then I got an opportunity to work in the office for the family biz here in New Jersey for about 7 years after graduating college. And it was awesome, man. I got to learn a ton about business and just like every aspect, like from marketing and sales to insurance to banking relationships to hiring and HR and like business plan development and things like that, real estate. Just so many different aspects. It was really cool. Good, well-rounded education. Had the opportunity to work with a bunch of family members in a company that is over 100 years old. So it's been around for a while. I was grateful for that. But at the same time, I was like, man, I have this entrepreneurial bone in my body that I didn't know what it was really at the time. I'm like, I need to like go out there and create something of my own, which I think most of the audience will relate to. And so that was a hard conversation to have with my dad, as far as like, hey, I want to leave, nothing against you guys or anything else. I'm so grateful for the opportunity, but I need to go do this and go build something of my own. And that's what I did. 2013, started Contractor Dynamics. So had the construction background, have a passion for marketing, saw the gap for marketing and, processes and tools and software in the construction industry, and just kind of combine those, and here we are. It's been a journey.
How did he respond when you initially said that you were going to go out and do your own thing?
Well, so it's like the mob. It's like, once you're in the mob, like no one ever leaves, right? So, and that's, kind of true of the Hughes family. I'm the 6th generation family member. So like, it's, once you're in, and, it's not like baller money, but like, job security and company car and benefits and, you're kind of set there, right? And I built that conversation up in my head for at least 6 months. I'm like, man, I know I want to do this. Like, this is like, this is my calling. I need to do this. And we're starting to have kids at the time and, all that, build a family. And so I had this conviction, but it took me about 6 months to get the guts to like have that conversation. And, I'll never forget it. It was the day after Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving, in my parents' kitchen, and I just kind of blurted it out, like, I don't even know what I said. And I'm like sweating and everything, and my parents were shocked, but not mad, just like, okay. And now having 2 kids of my own, like I realize, your parents, like hopefully, just want you to be happy and secure and have a roof over your head and that sort of thing. So they never, I don't think they ever doubted me. They just want to make sure, I'd be okay. Like literally within a 3-month period, I quit the family biz. We sold our first home for a pretty big loss, just because the market went down, and we need to sell because we needed bigger space because we were having our first child. So within 3 months, quit the family biz, moved and had a baby, in that period. Would not recommend that sequence of events, but hey, there's never a good time for anything, right? So
Sure.
at the end of the day, yeah, as parents, I don't even know if they really understand what I do today, but they know that I'm, doing okay, and that's all that matters.
Sure. Yeah, that I can imagine trying to empathize and be in your shoes, what it would feel like finally pulling the trigger on that conversation, right?
Yeah, yeah, I was sweating, like probably stuttering, like I don't know. It would have been cool to have that one on video, I guess, huh?
Yeah, for sure. So it's you said your first job was in a shipyard?
Yeah, so the company's called Hughes Marine Firms. It's a maritime construction company, barges and tugboats and shipyard in Brooklyn, New York, and Red Hook, operating up and down the East Coast. So it's pretty heavy machinery, big projects. When they're building bridges and things like that, like that's what we worked on. So, or that's what they continue to work on, rather. So yeah, I was in a shipyard with. That was an education on learning like blue collar, hard ass work, but also like getting to work alongside of people from literally all over the world. Was really cool. That was like a cool experience, just getting to like understand, where different people come from, the privileges that we have having been born in this country, and not taking that for granted. Like that really like made an impression on me, and yeah, that was cool.
Would you say that was kind of the biggest takeaway of that, or what are a few of the things that were glaring takeaways that have benefited you along your journey?
Man, yeah, it's like with age, you get that kind of like wisdom of reflecting back on it, different experiences, right? So that's certainly one of them. Is like I'm an empath. Like I very easily empathize with, or naturally, I would say, empathize with other people, their situations, and maybe looking at their background or where they're coming from and that sort of thing. So I think that probably stemmed from that experience. That was really cool. The value of hard work, like it was hard freaking work, and it was like you're in New York, right? Like it's cold winters. You're out in the water. You're on boats out in the water. It's like 10 degrees outside. The wind's whipping 20 miles an hour. Like it sucked a lot of times.
Yeah,
Just getting the work.
builds character.
What's that?
Builds character.
It does. Just getting that work done. And then the other aspect of like having been out in the shipyard, doing all the manual labor is then so my cousin Brian and I are about the same age. So we kind of grew up in the business together. When we got into the office, then we were like, we had the respect of the guys out in the shipyard who we now were like managing those guys that we were formerly working alongside. But we had that respect. We put in our time, we had the understanding of like, how shit works, right? Like, if there's 6 things that need to be done in a day, then you realize like, all right, well, we can realistically only get 3 of these things done unless we go into overtime or work the weekend or whatever, because we've been there and done those things. We know they take a long time, So
Right.
I think that was a good experience, knowing all the aspects of a business before you kind of step up into that like managerial or that leadership role.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now you mentioned that you kind of noticed the gap, right? And that's where you came up with the idea of Contractor Dynamics. Did you learn that just being aware of your surroundings in your family business? Was it externally? Was it a culmination of a few different things?
Yeah, it's a good question. That sort of business, we did a lot of government work, a lot of, it's not like we were running like Facebook ads or anything like that. Although the company has active social media profiles and all that good stuff. My cousin Bob runs those. That's mostly for like recruiting and just kind of brand building. But it was more like on a local basis. It's like, all right, you see these guys driving down the street, or you see like contractors in your neighborhood, you go check them out. Like I got into building WordPress websites at first myself, and I was like, man, these guys, they don't even have a website. They don't have reviews. Like what's going on here? Like, even if they just had some basic stuff, like a simple website, some Google reviews, like they could crush it, So I guess it was a combination of the two, but yeah, when I first started, it was like, it wasn't really tapping into my maritime construction, network. It was more like the local stuff, like the local contractors that I got to, an opportunity to work with.
So what was the growth strategy like in the very beginning for you as far as getting clients and getting established? Did you lean
So
heavy on Facebook?
what's that?
Did you lean heavy on Facebook?
No, I mean, dude, I mean, maybe I'm dating myself, but like this is like 2013. So like this is like before Facebook groups, before like, it was really a thing. In fact, I did have a local Facebook group with a bunch of contractors. It was Build New Jersey. And what I did to start is I started my own networking group for contractors locally. So I would get people in this Facebook group. I would obviously have the CRM at the time was probably just like a Google sheet or something like that. I forget. But I would let them know, like, hey, Friday morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, Green Planet Coffee in Point Pleasant. Let's meet up, contractors, coffee and whatever is on me. And let's just meet up and get to know one another. And at the time, like, I was building some WordPress websites. I was trying to figure things out. I didn't really have anything to sell. But the value of those meetups was like, the architect would talk to the roofer, and like the foundation, concrete foundation guy would talk to the other guy, and they would start building these relationships and making those connections and doing business together. And I was valuable just because I was like bringing the group together. And one of my two first clients came from that, Neil and Nick. And I think it was Neil at the time. He was like, "So, like, what do you do?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. What do you need? Like, what do you need help?" And he's like, "Well, I need a website. I need some SEO. I need some blogging." Back in the day, is like, heavy on blogging. And I'm like, yeah. And I know I charged them like some ridiculously low rate just to get the business. But yeah, so that's how it happened. And then one of the clients from that, Nick, is still a good friend and client today, and he's referred me to millions of dollars in business over the past 9-10 years. So it's crazy how that happens. But I was like, you know what? I was going to these networking events, like these local things, like BNI and all that stuff. And I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it. And I was like, I don't want to spend my time like this. I'd rather, like, instead of like trying to get a seat at someone else's table and prove myself, I'd rather build my own table and invite the people that I want, like my target market, and focus that way. So, I've made a lot of mistakes in business, as we all have, but one of the things that I'm very happy that I've kind of always done is I've always like niched down. It's like, I don't want to go to the BNI group with like all these different types of businesses when I just want to focus on contractors. So let me build my own contractor group. And, so yeah, that was the genesis of it.
Yeah, that's really smart, and I think it's really important to facilitate, right? You kind of began making your bones and simply facilitating, right? Like, we're all here. There's value in us being here. What do you do, Joe? I don't fucking know. What do you need, right? Like, and then we can work backwards from there. Like, that's not a bad thing, and especially you made a good point as far as like you probably charge a lot less than you were worth. And I don't think that's a bad thing. In business, obviously, we want revenue and we want margin and we want to make money. But at the same time, as a young company, it's important to understand that like you really haven't proven the concept necessarily. So you may not be able to get away with charging market rate if you want to get those clients into your ecosystem, because then from there, if you do a good job for them, they're going to go out and they're going to sing your praises, especially if you ask them to. And there's nothing wrong with asking them to if you do a good job having a reciprocal relationship, right?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to look at the long term. It's like, well, can I try to extract as much money out of this guy right now? Yeah, I can try, but like, look at the long term. Look at the referral. Like I said, Nick's been a client and a friend and a referral partner for 10 years now. Like, it's insane. So yeah, that's the way to go, long term.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, what is in the journey from then until now? Give me something that you said you've made a lot of mistakes. Is there a mistake that sticks out to you that other people in business might be able to avoid and learn from based on your experience?
Yeah, there is. And I share this like knowing that we are a marketing training company. We do some business coaching and things like that. So I say this to not like try to plug like the business coach, model. But for the first 3 years, for some crazy reason, I thought that my business was unique, like a marketing agency for contractors. Like, I mean, definitely back then there were way fewer of us than there are now, right? But I thought like, no, no, my business model is unique. Like, I need to figure it out all on my own. And part of that was like me just being naive and me just being like having that work ethic of like, all right, if something needs to get done, I'm just gonna like drink a bunch of coffee and put my head down and get it done. Like that was just kind of my default mode, And in school, I was a good student. I like sports. I was a good athlete, and it was just because I worked hard and I could I had no problem working hard. So that's what I did the first 3 years, and then and I struggled, right? Like I charged too little. Didn't make as much money as I wanted. Didn't grow as much as I wanted. Didn't really have goals, to be honest. I was just trying to like keep the lights on, pay the bills, and figure it out, right? 3 years in, I joined my first. I got my first business coach. His name was Tim. Is Tim still alive? And that kind of opened my eyes to like, all right, Tim is like 10 years older than me. He's got a ton of experience that I can leverage. That we're still going to make mistakes, but we can limit some of those mistakes, shorten the learning curve. And yeah, that was 2015. My first business coach, and ever since I've had either a business coach, mastermind, both, whatever. Like life is too short to make all the mistakes we need to make on our own. So I'm all about just, accessing knowledge to try to, minimize those mistakes and grow, faster and better.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's interesting, right? Because I think a lot of people associate like shortcuts. It has like a negative connotation because if you're cutting down the learning curve, you're kind of taking a shortcut. But like, not all shortcuts are bad, right?
Right.
If somebody else has made 50 mistakes that you're bound to make, and you can learn from that, and maybe you still make 5 of them. I mean, you've still, gotten rid of 90% of the potential mistakes to where now that time that you would spend making those mistakes can be allotted into something that can be more productive.
Right.
Right. I think that's really good insight for sure.
And it's not just about like when you take the focus off yourself and you're like, well, how many people am I not able to help because I'm just in my own way and I refuse to ask for help, If I have conviction that I have a great service and a great product, like I owe it to the people in my market to get out of my own way and to take some of those shortcuts. Yeah, I agree. I don't like the term shortcut, but like,
Right.
get that assistance that I need so that I can help more people. So I think when we take the focus off ourselves and frame it that way, it becomes
Yep.
clear like what we need to do.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You had mentioned previously that, a lot of your business with the family business was generated through like government contracts and things that wouldn't necessarily behoove you to run a ton of Facebook ads for acquisition, right?
Right.
But you had a presence, you use it for recruiting, right? How important is brand? I feel like a lot of contractors, they don't like branding.
Yeah.
I think initially it's acquisition and it's attributable, and I can look and I know what this lead cost me and I know what I made off these 10 leads.
Right.
How important is it for them to build a brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know that most contractors even today don't care about a brand, and that's fine. Like, you and I find the ones that do, and hopefully work with them and help them build that brand. So brand to me is like simply getting people to know who the heck you are and ideally associate with you in a positive way. So you're that top of mind company. So like back in the day with the family biz, Hughes Marine Firms, like Brian, my cousin Brian and I, we would drive up and down from Maine to Virginia. We'd be flying to New Orleans and Florida and Texas down to the Gulf, and like we would go on trips for a week where we're just like shaking hands and taking people to lunch and like old school like relationship like biz dev. And they could be current customers, potential customers, construction companies that we might partner with on things. And like you're not looking to get anything out of it right away, but it's like next time that guy has a big project and he needs some assistance on it, then you're going to be top of mind, right? You shared a meal a month ago or whatever it is. So like we did a ton of that. But brand, yeah. I mean, I just got off the phone with a roofing company owner in Indiana, and young company, and he's like, "Hey, man, we're doing great. We're plugging along. It's just like not enough people know about us yet. And like, that's what a brand is. It's like, all right, well, you have content, you're doing video content. We need to distribute that to more people. Cause like you have 600 Facebook followers, but like, those are the only people that are seeing your content, if that many. So it's getting everyone in your area to know who you are, if you're a local business, or in your market to know who you are and associate with you positively. So that's an asset. You can go out and buy leads. You can generate leads through Facebook or Google or whatever. That's all great. But like the brand that you have, like when people are tagging you in a local Facebook group or recommending you or referring you or coming back to you for repeat business because your reputation and your products, like that's all part of your brand. And that's an asset. When your Google ads are not working as well as you want, or your Facebook ads or what Home Advisor, whatever you're doing, like when that stuff's not working as well as you want it to, you have that brand that's going to be generating some consistency and predictability in your business. So, it's kind of an overview of it in my opinion.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more because, I tell my clients and people that are prospective clients, like, look, there's going to be peaks and valleys. Like, that shit is inevitable. I don't care who you hire for Facebook, for Google, for any type of, like, paid advertising. Sometimes shit's going to be awesome and, like, high five, and then sometimes it's going to kind of be in the shitter. Like, it kind of is what it is. I hate to say it that way, but I'm big on setting the right expectations, right? So I always say, like, we don't have to celebrate when the stock goes high, but we also don't want to panic when the stock dips, right? Because if we look at it over a 10-year sample size, we should have gains consistently year over year, right?
Exactly.
And I think it's hard to maintain that mentality when you're investing in something, but you kind of have to. And I'm sure most markets have this. Like, if you pick any market in the U.S. with contractors in it, there's that one company or those two companies that they're huge. They're doing 15, 20, $30 million, and maybe they're not having to spend so much on acquisition-based advertising. And they're the companies that, they're getting $1,250 a square when you're getting $900. And why are they getting that? Because they've got people lined up, ready to call them anytime that they need an issue addressed, because they spent all those years building that brand. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss on as far as the importance. Again, you're not going to fit it in branding efforts. You're not going to fit into a spreadsheet and have quantifiable data to say, the branding efforts this year have done this much for me. Will you get leads from branding efforts, even traditional things like billboards? You will. Like, there's no doubt about it. Maybe you spend $30,000 and maybe you get 10 leads, but that shouldn't be the gauge as far as how you measure what your ROI is from those branding efforts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you've got to look at it on a macro perspective. It's like, all right, well, we spent $100,000 on marketing this year. Like, did we see an increase in revenue and profit as well? Like I always talk about generating leads through your brand, right? And I think you probably, hopefully, would align with this. If not, you don't have to. It's your podcast. But
sure.
when you're buying leads, right? Like you're getting property owners to put in their contact info to Home Advisor or whatever, and they have no idea who you are. Like, that's a cold lead. Like, you need to do a lot of work in a short period of time to take that lead from cold to sold, right? And you're going to get beat up on price, and you're going to get price shops, and you're going to get people that are just tire kickers because they don't care about a brand, right? They just want the cheap guy. But when you're generating leads through your brand, like through your website or through your Google ads or through your social media or through your billboards, whatever, that means like people are reaching out to you because they see some value in you. Maybe it's you as the owner, maybe it's your reputation, maybe it's your company, maybe it's the fact that you're involved in your community and you give back and things like that. Whatever it might be, people are reaching out to you. So therefore, when you have those, and this isn't 100%, but like when you're generating leads and appointments through your brand, your sales reps are going to be able to close at a higher rate. They're going to be able to charge, what they want within reason, of course. They're going to get price shop less. They're going to make more profit. They're going to make more commission. You're going to make more profit. They're going to get better referrals because those are better clients. They're going to have enough money to actually provide an amazing service and product for that company. And it's just like this positive snowball effect that started from generating a lead through your brand as opposed to like some third-party website from, someone that doesn't know you. So it can have a big impact. Now, obviously, marketing doesn't solve every problem in a business, but like it can have a huge impact in terms of your profitability and your team member retention and being able to reinvest back in your business, have more of an impact in your community, in your industry, your market, whatever that is.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I had Ben Morrow with Roof Tiger on a couple weeks ago. He came up to the studio and we shot some content, and he was talking about really the different ways that like having his brand out. His brand's loud, it's flagrant. I love it, right? It's definitely catchy and it resonates. And it lands well in his community. And he mentioned a bunch of things that it's done for him, not only just from as far as like leads and being able to have more opportunities and better opportunities, but things like having sub crews lined up to work for him based on like what they're indoctrinating the community with based on the brand Roof Tiger and Solar Panther. And people, when they want to hire people, how excited people are to be immersed into that and brought into that culture. And I think those are often things that should be looked at when you're talking about branding and the positive effects of it that I don't think are very intuitive to a lot of people, even, a while ago, myself included, right? Like, I run a digital marketing agency and this is what I do. And it's like, you really got to hone in on the big picture and what impacts what and how it can impact a company in general, right?
Yeah, the recruiting thing is huge. I mean, like we have people that reach out to us that want to, they're interested in joining our team and like I love what you guys are doing, like that sort of thing. So like that stuff works, right? Even if you don't have people reaching out to your company like looking for jobs or looking for job openings, when you post something, hopefully you've done the work to build your brand and tell your story and show who you are. That when you post a job opening, people are like, oh wow, those guys are hiring. Like that's interesting, right? And it's not just like, oh, I can make $100,000. It's like, no, I can join a company that has like some cool shit going on, that has a culture, that has like, a team and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, brand building for recruiting is like hugely underestimated.
Yeah, and to that point, like I made a statement on a video I made a couple months ago, and it's like money attracts culture, or money attracts talent, culture retains it. And I feel like that brand and what people are associating with your brand is kind of foreshadowing what that culture is going to be, right? They're trying to envision what it's going to be like to work for you. And if they feel like that's going to be a really positive experience, that's a really good way to cut down on churn of employees, right? Because anybody can find somebody to pay them $1 more an hour, $2 more an hour, right? So you get an allegiance and a loyalty when you have that sticky brand that people want to be a part of, versus just saying you're going to make X amount of dollars.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, exactly.
This is good. So what do you find? I mean, you've worked with a ton of contractors. If somebody's looking to get started with their social media, like what is the first thing that they should associate with using the platform in a way that's going to be productive for their business? What lens should they look through?
Man, that's a great question. All right, so I guess it's relevant because, like I said, I just got off the Zoom with this guy in Indiana and kind of newer company, like getting out there on video a little bit, but just like looking to reach more people. And so I'm just trying to think of the things that I was talking to him about. I mean, he is already doing video, which is like half the battle. I mean, you don't have to do video. I'm never the guy that's gonna say like you have to do this or you have to do that. Like you can crush it without doing video, but it is like you asked like what the platform is for. Like you're going to reach more people with video. You're going to be able to build that authentic connection, right? You're going to build that trust a lot faster, a lot deeper with video. So like that's something that is a big help, right? So if it's you as the owner getting a video, cool. If it's someone else on your team or other people on your team, cool too. Like it doesn't have to be the owner. We work with a lot of clients where the owner is behind the scenes and like you have the sales reps out there, whoever it might be. There's usually one or two, wannabe Hollywood movie stars in every company that are like, yeah, I want to get on video. And that's great. As you're recruiting, maybe find those people that are open to getting on video. Maybe make that a criteria. We don't have that as a criteria at our company, but like when I'm hiring, I'm looking for someone who's already active on social so they can, continue to help build our brand as well. So yeah, video is huge. Consistency is big. It's about farming. It's not about hunting. So I think a lot of contractors are like, yeah, I'm going to put out this like ad or this video or whatever. I'm going to have this video company come in and, shoot this video for a couple grand. And man, we're just going to be like raking in the leads, That doesn't happen. It's about planting seeds every day, because you never know when someone's going to be ready for a roof or, whatever services that you offer. Like, you never know, right? So it's about planting those seeds so you're continually top of mind with your audience. So video, treating it as like farming, not hunting. And then, I'm biased because there's a lot what we train on, but like, you need to get your content out in front of more people than your followers and your mom and, some people that work for you, right? So that can come in the form of like, Google ads in your case, and come in the form of Facebook ads where, for 5, 10, 20 bucks a day, like you can reach tens of thousands of people in your local market with your content. So, and that's something that most of the big companies aren't doing. So even if you're in a crowded market with some big players, which I think everyone is, or maybe you are a big player, like it's still in this day and age, like you can still like cut through the noise with video content, with being specific with your messaging, talking to certain people, that sort of thing. So those are a few things.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. And kind of to piggyback off what you said, where you've got 600 followers, but Joseph, we're posting 3 times a week on our Facebook, and we've got 600 followers. Like if you look at, so first of all, if you look at collectively who that audience is, usually a very large percentage of that is going to be friends, family, right? Maybe some customers, things like that. But like those aren't ideally the people who you're going to try to make concerted efforts to as far as branding and or acquisition, right? Because whether they just did business with you, or your mom, like you said, or your sales team, or friends of your sales team that they all invited, like that stuff's great. But also, like, even if you had 600 ideal people that fit into your target market, on that, out of those 600, let's say 600 of them or 100% are viable prospects. If you post on your social media organically, especially Facebook, I mean, of that 600, how many people are going to see it? 9, 15?
Yeah.
30? Right. Like top, like it'll go up with engagement. I mean, I'm not the social media guy, but I just noticed through our content, I mean, it's discouraging, the percentage of people that actually see the content, especially like on a Facebook business page, for sure.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's discouraging, and it's even Instagram as well. It's the same thing. Like, it's been going down. Yeah, I mean, not every one of your followers is going to see all your content. So people are always afraid of like, oh, I'm going to annoy my people if I post every day. Like, no, like post every day, because one of those followers might see, if you post 7 days a week, they might see 2 or 3 of those. They might see 1, right? So you have to be out there consistently, and then like that is the beauty of ads. I mean, again, for not that much money, like you can literally reach thousands of people every day in your market and stay in front of them in a non-salesy way. Like, you're not putting yourself out there with some cheesy, gimmicky ads, but like, just top of mind awareness. Here's what we do. Here's who we help. Here's how you can work with us if you want, that sort of thing. And that is encouraging when you're running ads and you're getting people seeing you all over the place. This company we just started working with, a roofing company in Fort Worth, Texas, pretty crowded market, right?
I'd say so.
They're an older couple, like, so you would think like, oh, they'd be hesitant to get on video, but no, they're all about it. They've been doing it, and they went to a networking event last night in their local area, and a couple of the people at the networking event were like, oh, you're the people we see on Facebook all the time, like you're those people. They mentioned my name. And like, dude, that's awesome. Like, in a crowded market like Fort Worth, they just started, they're older, they have, all these things going against them, but like they committed to it. And like, that's the power of it. So, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm a big believer in it. That's why I built a business on it. So yeah, I mean, that's, and again, it can be Facebook ads, it can be Google ads. It can be just knocking, 1,000 doors a day, whatever it is. But like, you have to reach more people than just people in your inner circle.
Yeah, and to your point about video, it's going to take a considerable amount of time before you legitimately feel, based on an experience, that it's working for you. So I'll give you an example. I have a client in New Jersey, Epic Exteriors. Shout out to George. He's been with me for about a year now, and I'm like, man, you got to start making some YouTube content. And he's like, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm like, video's big. It's only going to get bigger. Like, it's more engaging than text photos, right? it's like if you're doing text and you're doing photos, make good better, right? Like let's
Right.
do some video. So, he got out of his shell and started making videos, and he's been doing it for about a year. And I mean, he's done a good job. He's created some very interesting videos, but not a lot. I think he's got 5 subscribers on YouTube, right? Which is like, oh my God, I'm really not getting much out of it. But some of his videos, his one video is like 5,000 views. Some of them have a couple hundred, but they recently just got a lot of rain. You're in New Jersey, aren't you?
Yeah. Not too far from George, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he, they were getting poured on, and he's like, dude, I got to tell you, I just had the aha moment where he's like, of all the leads that are coming in, I had 3 or 4 people that have watched my YouTube content before I got there and told me how much they appreciate it. And what that does for your sales process is incredible, right? Because, I mean, we all know that, like, trust and credibility is huge when you're selling anything. If you don't have that, I don't care how bulletproof your processes are, you're not going to get the sale, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about selling a roof. So that kind of evolved into us kind of having a conversation, like what can we do preemptively to create automations within the CRM so that we're sending this content out to people as soon as we hit appointment set, right? Mm-hmm. To give everybody the opportunity to see this, not just the people that are diligent in doing their research.
Yeah, 100%. That's huge. Like, it was 2 weeks ago. It rained here for like 5 days straight. It was actually the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. It wasn't a hurricane by the time it got to New Jersey, but like, man, we actually have a leaky roof right now. We got to get it. Maybe I should call George.
Call George.
Yeah, man, it rained for like 5 days. Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, that's huge. I mean, there's a stat out there that 70% of the buying decision is made before someone reaches out to a company for the first time. So it's like, what are those people doing? Well, they're doing what we're all doing. They're Googling stuff. They're going on YouTube. They're looking at reviews. They're looking at websites. They're looking at social media profiles. Like, people, even if they're referred to you, right? Even if they're referred to your business, they're still going online and checking you out to verify, like, are these guys legit? Can I trust them? So, like, George's content is out there educating people and building that know, like, and trust before he gets to the appointment. Like, that's huge. I mean, think about that. Even if they do get 3 estimates, I can almost guarantee that the other 2 guys, have no content out there, and he's just going to stand out immediately. So it's like, how do I stand out in my market? Well, like, get on video. Like, even in, again, 2022, like guys like you and I have been talking about this for years, but it's still like a, kind of a cutting edge, innovative thing to do in the roofing and contracting industry.
Yeah. Yeah. How do we stand out? Do the shit other people aren't doing.
Yeah. Don't tell all your secrets, bro.
I've got a question. So you do some coaching, right?
Yes.
So this dovetails nicely. So we're talking about leads, we're talking about branding, and we're talking about sales. How important is the sales process that you have as it relates to the leads and opportunities you're bringing in?
How important is it? Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Anything worthwhile needs a process. So like, a content marketing process, sales process. But yeah, we're big on those touch points as well. Lead comes in, making sure that that lead is handled 24/7, 365 within 5 minutes, with some automation. Like, so Michael, you inquire with my roofing company tonight at 11 o'clock. Well, like, I'm fast asleep. I'm not calling you back. But there should be a text message, email going out to Michael. Hey, Michael, thanks for contacting Joe's Roofing Company. We look forward to the opportunity to help you with your home or your project. We'll call you promptly to schedule your appointment. But in the meantime, check out this link to see what other homeowners in the area have to say about their experience. Or click this link to go to our website to check out our simple 3-step process for replacing your roof, or whatever it might be. Just like, things that most companies aren't doing. Creates a little bit, it requires a little bit of a setup, but like that kind of stuff just like that's why they call it automation. It kind of runs in the background, So things like that, like all those little touch points, like I'm huge on that. Pre-appointment, post-appointment, pre-build, post-build. Like, think about, and I know I'm not the only one that talks about this, like think about how we are all conditioned to, interact with companies these days. whether it's Amazon or whether it's Grubhub or, whatever it might be, like we know exactly what's going on with our order, when it's going to be here, we can see it sometimes like on the truck being delivered. Like,
Yeah.
so we're used to that like level of access as to what's going on. And think about one of the big hesitations that everyone has about contractors. We've all had bad experiences. Like, well, oh, he said he's going to show up on Tuesday, but I don't know. Maybe he'll show up on Tuesday, maybe not. Maybe it'll be on time, maybe not. Chances are, like all these like hesitations. So if you can put people at ease and just let them like communicate, like over communicate, that's huge. Absolutely. So I don't know if that answers your question about the sales process, but like, we don't get too much into, well, I guess we do, but like we're more marketing focused. I tend to deep
Yeah.
those types of answers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that does, right? Because you're nurturing the experience for the customer, which again, that's going to be significantly different than most contractors. Do you have a plug? Feel free to plug if you have a software or a group that you use to create that experience.
So we'll work with our clients, whatever CRMs they have, as some of them are more, easily integratable with other tools. Some are not. So, like we
Case by case.
yeah, we use Go High Level. There's Chirp out there. There's Hatch. Those are a couple that are thrown around. HubSpot I know is one that's pretty robust. Adam Sand is building a lot of good stuff there. I don't like. I know a couple people that are still building their own CRMs. I talked with one of them yesterday in the roofing space. Like, there's not really, in my experience, maybe HubSpot. I don't know. There's not one that is like that solves everything. Like the marketing, the production, the follow up, the communication. I don't know. Have you found one or seen one or know of one?
I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there. I feel as if I'm not intimately involved in every facet
Right.
of that journey and customer life cycle to understand fully the deficiencies to where I could speak on it confidently.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I have not had a customer who has not expressed something that's missing in most instances from something they would love, right? Like, I wish it did this, right? Or we can't do this, and sometimes it's I can't get a hold of anybody to help me do this.
Yeah.
When it comes to their CRM, which it's funny because we're talking about communication, we're talking about the relationship, or the experience that your customer's having. And like you said, for instance, with Amazon or Grubhub or DoorDash, where it's like, I know every step of the way where this food is, where my delivery is. And like, those are great things, but like for the smaller companies who maybe they don't have a CRM, maybe they're just getting a CRM and they're getting their feet wet, communicate, even if it's manual. So like, for instance, if somebody expects you out Thursday to do the roof and it rains and your crew's not going to show up, give them a call.
Yeah.
Let them know, right? I mean, it sounds crazy, right?
Yeah, or like when there's rain in the forecast, and you're small, it's like, well, you just send a text the day before. It's like, hey, Michael, like we have rain in the forecast. I know you're probably wondering what's going on. Like, I'll text you tomorrow morning to let you know, or I'll call you tomorrow morning to let you know.
Yeah.
Because I think we want to be proactive about that, because like we know. Put ourselves in that homeowner's shoes. Like, they're wondering. They're like, oh yeah, they're sitting there watching TV at night. Like, oh yeah, these guys gonna show up tomorrow. I wonder if they work in the rain. I don't really know. And like, that's not really negative, but if you can like be proactive and communicate, that just like turns that like neutral into a positive. So
Yeah, and it's just honestly, it's also going to probably make you different from a lot of the guys in your market because communication seems to be a scarce commodity at times, post sale especially. And I'm not saying that just specific to roofing. Let's talk about marketing companies. Like, a lot of people have that experience with marketing companies. That's why everyone fucking hates marketing companies, right? They sold me a bunch of shit, and then I never heard from my rep again, and it's not working, right? So always communicate is the takeaway here. But yeah, I think it's really important as far as like automating as much as you can so that you don't have all these tedious manual processes. If you have automation, the process is much less likely to break down than relying on deploying human capital each time an event needs to be completed or a task needs to be done. And that's really important, especially as you continue to grow, right?
Yeah, automation and processes too. Like the more you can rely on a process, the less like human error there's going to be. SOPs are huge. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, humans suck. Like we all forget about things. Like we don't do things consistently. We get lazy. We go on vacation, whatever. So like having that automation run in the background is huge. Yeah, and don't ignore it. Like we got a feedback from a prospect the other day that he received like triplicate of his like text message reminders for our call, and so we're like, oh, I guess we have to look into that, right? So it's like it's not like set it and forget it, but like maybe have a cadence where it's once a month or once a quarter. You're kind of going through and just testing things and making sure nothing's broken and things like that. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. I think that also expands to like your processes and things like that, because your business is going to evolve and your processes are likely going to evolve. We have a client in mutual, Corey, South Shore Roofing and Exteriors, right? Shout out to Corey. I'm just shouting everyone out here. And we were talking today and he's like, this year was challenging. They did really well. He's like, but this year was challenging because some of our processes didn't scale, right? So it created a situation that was less than desirable, so we had to revisit and adjust those processes. And like those, it's like making halftime adjustments when you're getting the shit kicked out of you in a football game, right? Like,
Yeah,
okay, the cover 2 defense wasn't working, so we're gonna go man to man in these scenarios, right? And then we're gonna go to cover 3 here, whatever, for all my football fans. So even if you break it down to like, your sales, your employees, your SOPs, what their roles are. Like as a leader, you set the expectation of what you want them to do, but you don't just leave that shit be and never meet with them about it again, right? There should be some level of accountability and buy-in, and they should know that somebody, whether it's you, whether it's a manager, is going to be checking in on these things. And it's not only to micromanage them. That's not the vein that you should do it through. But how can we improve? Let me have your feedback about how we can make our company better, how we can make the experience for our customers better, how we can make the product better. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I think that it's really important to circle back with the people in the trenches as well, and not just say, okay, we have a process, let's leave it alone. Would you agree?
no. Yeah, 100%. I'm just messing with you, man. Yeah, like totally. And I mean, I don't think anyone really likes meetings, but like when your meetings are structured and they have a purpose, like we follow EOS and we have our meetings every week. We have like, kind of small department meetings. We're not huge, but like we have those meetings every week. And one of the things, like one of our core values is that we continually learn and improve. And so like that's what we focus on every week. And just today we had in our team Slack channel, there's like certain not as many clients were showing up to this particular group call that we wanted, and we're like, all right, well, then we need to do a better job of like selling our clients to join this call and like reminding them that this is important, that they're busy but they need to carve out time for this. So it's like even when you have paying clients, you need to like sell them on showing up and doing the thing, right? So yeah, we're going to improve that process for next week. So having that, like, not necessarily a sense of urgency, but like having that cadence to where you're not waiting until January 1st to make changes, right? Like you're having those weekly meetings and you're making improvements. Like, we're not huge businesses here, right? We can make changes on the fly. That's what I love about like small to medium sized businesses. There's not a bunch of red tape or, things like that we need to go through. Yeah. And then from a marketing perspective, I mean, one of the things that like most of our clients are contracting companies that have like an internal in-house marketing person. And one of the things that we really encourage them, so for anyone in the audience that has that person, whether it's a full-time person or an office admin or a spouse or whatever that's doing that marketing, meet with the sales team, meet with the team on a regular basis so that you can like understand what's going on out in the field. Like, what are the hesitations? What are the objections that people have? Like, why are people choosing to go with us? Like, you can take all that content and then put it out into your marketing. Or, what are the customer trends? Like, what are people liking these days? What colors are popular? And then you can incorporate that into your marketing. So it's not like you have marketing over here and you have sales over here. It's like they're combined into like your revenue department. And that's something that is sorely lacking among the companies that we see. And like something we never thought saw ourselves getting into was like training our clients on how to have productive meetings, but we do that because it helps. So
That's interesting. So you just touched on what my next question was going to be. So I'm super excited. So,
Ooh.
well, here's the thing, right? So I've worked in companies where it's like, all right, Monday morning we've got a meeting. It's 8 a.m. and it's like, fuck me. I just know that, we're just going to get the shit kicked out of us, right? I'm going to get yelled at because I didn't make up for the 3 other people that didn't produce what they were supposed to. I was in sales. And like it sucks to look forward to that, look down the barrel of that coming every Monday. So what are some things that you have found as far as for anyone who's listening and they're going to incorporate like structure and some meetings, maybe it's weekly. What are some savvy approaches that you found so that they don't feel like Mike felt walking into those meetings?
Yeah, I mean we're not reinventing the wheel here. We follow EOS. A lot of people read the book Traction, the whole series of books and whatnot. But yeah, I mean we have our level 10 leadership meeting every Monday, sales team meeting every Monday, training team meeting every Monday, full team meeting every other Monday, and all of those have agendas. So like they're the same time every week, the same duration every week. We start on time, we end on time. We have agendas. We have it's pretty mapped out, and then like, we start with our core values. We start with our purpose, and like so everyone's reminded of that, and all the decisions are made in accordance with the core values. And yeah, it's and one of the core values is extreme ownership. So it's like we're in a meeting. Like I'm not going to blame you. We're going to look at how we can take ownership of this as a group and like improve this situation. So that's been huge for us. Same time, same place every week, week in and week out, start on time, end on time, have an agenda. I mean, check out the EOS level 10 meeting. You can Google that, anyone that's watching or listening. That's been absolutely game changing for us because it's not like, we're not showing up to a meeting with like, all right, I want to talk about these 5 things. Michael wants to talk about these 7 things, and we don't have time. There's no priority. Like we prioritize the issues that we want to discuss, like from top to bottom. So if there are 9 issues and we only have time to get to 3 or 4, which is normal, then we tackle the first 3 or 4 and make sure that we're prioritizing. So there's a lot that goes into that, but like that's been a game changer. And it's
Feel free.
What's that?
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, and it's a positive thing. Yeah, like Mondays are by the end of the day, I'm like all I'm all zoomed out, I'm all meetinged out, but like they're productive and like we move forward every week. Like there's no like getting out of a meeting and be like, oh, that was not productive. Like they're productive. Yeah.
I like that. So feel free to tell me to pound salt. But what are one of your Q4 rocks?
We are one of the big things that is left over from Q3 because we took on too much. We had too many rocks in Q3. We had 9. We cut it down to 6. We didn't even accomplish those 6. So in Q4, we're being much more realistic with ourselves because we are, there's holidays. We're traveling to a bunch of events. We're a small team. So we're pretty realistic. So one of the things that we are finalizing is a course. So like what we do is training, hands-on consulting, coaching, training. But we are building like a couple of courses actually that people can kind of like dip their toe into, like learning some basics about marketing or video or whatever, to have kind of more like top of funnel stuff, like that's more accessible to more people. Because right now, like we have our free content, we have a ton of that out there, just like this, and then it's like our paid stuff, and there's like nothing in between. So we're trying to give people a little bit more of a taste as to, hey, if you're just starting out, or maybe if you're an independent sales rep, like you can, watch these videos and learn a thing or two, and maybe continue your growth with us or not, whatever. So that's one of them. So actually tomorrow, I'm talking about accountability. We were on this call, our leadership call on Monday, and I was like, all right, well, we don't need to talk about this course anymore. I just need to we each need to put it in our calendar, and we need to hold ourselves accountable to like getting it done. So tomorrow, I have a 4-hour block in my calendar that is blocked off just to do that, and I'm going to do my best to hold myself accountable to actually doing that. So. it's one of those things that's like, it's not urgent. Like it's not, it's a longer term thing. Yeah, it'll be great once it's done, but like we don't need to do it. But yeah, so that's challenging when there are things that like are longer term, like marketing, when you don't like need it in the moment. It's not a pressing priority, but like you need to hold yourself accountable to like operating your calendar. So I'll report back and let you guys know how I did.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear it. So yeah, Traction is great. I read it. We haven't fully implemented Traction. We're not even close to fully implementing it. There were some key takeaways that we have implemented. You mentioned something that was very interesting to me. So you had your Q3 rocks, and those are your 90-day goals, right?
Yep.
The theory behind it is, and I think this proves out pretty well, is like after 90 days, if you're setting goals for longer than 90 days, like you're going to go off the rails. You're going to get your attention's going to be fragmented, right? So you have these 90-day goals that you're trying to implement and get accomplished. You set them, follow through, meet, and hopefully accomplish them. But you mentioned that you went a little heavy. You're a competitive dude, right? You played sports. You were good at sports. You're super competitive. You're an entrepreneur. How important is it to understand that like it's okay not to reach your goals as opposed to beating yourself up about it?
Man, I mean, I'm working through this right now. So like it's, because I do beat myself up over things. I'm my own worst enemy. And I think a lot of us do, right? But that comes down to, I think, having a good team. Elizabeth and I are the leadership team, just two of us right now, like on the leadership team. So we talk about this and like, kind of have grace with ourselves and one another. Like if it was just me operating in a vacuum, and I get that a lot of owners are like that. It's like you're the only one, right? You might have a few crews, you might have a couple sales guys, whatever, but like you're making all decisions. I mean, in that case, I would say like, like find an advisor or a coach or something like that, because like making all these decisions on your own is so like stressful. I think we all know that. So yeah, like Elizabeth and I will have some grace with each other. And like, for example, one of the rocks that we had for Q4, like we had it for a week and then we struck it from the list, was to do a workshop event here in New Jersey. So we just did one in Dallas last week. We're like, let's do one in Jersey in November. And we're looking at our travel schedule and we look at the holidays and we're like looking at how much we'll need to put into it to promote it and make it worthwhile. And we're like, man, this project is like 25 hours of work. And like looking at that and breaking it down, be like, do we have like 25 hours this quarter? It sounds crazy because you think in 90 days you have unlimited time. But when you look at your calendar and things like that, you're like, do I have 25 focused hours of like energy to give this thing? And I was like, we really probably don't. Like, I'd rather do it well and do it in Q1 than like half-ass it in Q4. And that goes back to like brand too. It's like, you don't want to deliver a half-ass product to your market just because you're rushing it out, right? Because that's your reputation. So if we did that workshop and it was just okay, or there's just like a handful of people in there, then, the next time we do one, it's just like, we're not going to be able to promote it as much. Like it's just not going to go well. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough. But I think being objective about it too, like why didn't we hit our goal or why didn't we get this done? Was it like, and be honest with yourself. Like, did you not have the time or did you just not prioritize it in your calendar? Or did something else happen externally that like made it difficult or like whatever happened? Like just be honest about that so you can just make adjustments moving forward. I mean, try not to have an ego about it. I think a lot of people think of ego as like, oh yeah, I'm the best, like I'm the greatest. But ego is also the flip side of that is when you're beating the shit out of yourself for not like accomplishing your goals or whatever. Like that's ego too. So like I try to coach myself, like take that out of it and just like focus on the business and how do I kind of look at this objectively and say, all right, well, what could have gone, like an after action report, like I think the military does that. Like, all right, what went well, what didn't go well, what can we improve for next time? So that's, I don't know, it's pretty long winded, but just try to be objective about it and take your ego out of it. Emotion.
No, I mean, that's really good, right? Because I'm the same way. I'm my own worst, like harshest critic, right? And it's like, you can only do so much. You're never going to be perfect. For me, it's like, I'll say this here, and it's like I try to move the needle as far away from imperfect every day, right? Like that's my goal. And I'm like, I know I'm never going to be perfect. And, some days you're going to eat a shit sandwich, right? Like things are going to go to hell in a handbasket. And it's like, you've got to understand that's a reality of life, and you got to roll with those punches and try to stay focused and get back on track. And it's okay for not everything to work out perfectly, because it's never going to. So don't have that expectation. It's funny what you mentioned as far as brand, though, because I just did like a t-shirt giveaway. I was getting a bunch of Ascend shirts made, and I'm like, drop all your information. And for anyone watching this, well, they'll be to you by the time this is published. So thanks for participating in the post, and I hope you enjoy your t-shirts. But what I did was I did like 100 black ones and 100 white ones with our logo, right? One with, red font, white rocket, red font, black rocket, whatever. And I get the t-shirts, and the white ones are pristine. They're beautiful. I'm like, this is awesome. And then I look at the black ones, and it's like this washed out burnt orange instead of the Ascend red. And so I call them, and they're like, and they were great on the customer service side. They're like, we're really sorry. We'll fix it for you. We actually have to do this, this, and this in order to make that red the way you want it. I'm like, feel like that's a conversation that should have been had before it went to print. But solely on the premise that you guys are handling this professionally and accommodating, like, it's fine, whatever. But I was like, I'm a marketing agency, right? And I can't send this shit product out that isn't reflective of our brand, right? Like it's a big no. There's no
right.
It would be really bad for us if we did that. Not a good look.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you brought that up, and I think that's really important, because like you said, if you get 10 people that show up to an event because you weren't able to fully invest into it, and I don't mean just financially, but fully invest into it. What are the odds that when you have another one that you're going to get 100, right? You don't have that proof of concept to promote. Look at what Hunter did with RoofCon, even though the initial one, they had 40, then 900, whatever. And then you just keep building the hype to where people are like, I don't want to fucking miss it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
So that's powerful for those future endeavors. And I think that's really great self-awareness on your side, man. That's good for you. I commend you.
Thanks.
Not that you're looking for my approval, but that's I know it's not always easy, especially when you're super busy to catch those types of things. Sometimes they can slip through. So, well done.
Yeah.
What has been the most challenging part about implementing EOS for Contractor Dynamics?
I think I resisted it. So I think that myself included, I first read Traction back in 2017. And I know that because when I buy real books, like paperback or hardcover, and like I reread a lot of books. So in the front page, like I'll put the month and the year when I read it. So just kind of like you come back to a book, you have a different perspective and things like that. It hits differently, extract different things. But I read it back in 2017. We implemented a little bit, not really. And I think that's like where a lot of companies are at who have read it, because it's kind of daunting. It's like a textbook, right? It's like all this work. And it is work. And that's been like the hardest part, the most challenging part is like we have to like put in work to like create this system to then make everything else we do more efficient and effective. So I think it was getting over that hump of like, all right, well, this is going to require a little bit of work on our part to like figure this out. And just like getting over that, because it's so much easier to like wake up on Monday and be like, all right, I got a million things to do. I'm just going to start attacking them and whack-a-mole and that sort of thing. Like, that's easy to do, right? It's easy to just put your head down and do the work. But I think it's harder to like take a step back and say, all right, well, looking long term, we need to spend some time to learn this thing. Like I've read all 6 books. I think the 7th book just came out last month. But I read all 6 books. I've been through, some training and things like that. I went to one of my, I flew out to a company to spend a couple of days at a company that's implementing EOS, like really fully implementing it to like really absorb it. And for me, when I was there at that company for 2 days, I was like, oh, I see it. I can feel it. Like I can see how this machine is operating. I was in their quarterly meeting. Like, I think being immersed in that was a game changer for me. But like anything, it's like, a new CRM or a new marketing initiative. Like you're not just going to flip a switch and make it work. Like you got to invest the time into making it work. So That's been the most challenging for me. We were going to hire an implementer. Like you can hire someone to like come in, you know, 4 or 5, 6 times a year to like help you implement everything and do your meetings and everything. We didn't do that. More so on the time end of things, because we're a remote team. We're all over the country, so it was like we would have had to like pick a place in the middle of the country that we'd all meet up at, 5 times during the year. And like we just with everything else we've already committed to, like events and whatnot, like I just couldn't fathom spending that much more time away and doing all that. So we're self-implementing, and I think it's been okay so far. I'm sure there's things we're missing, but it's a process.
Moving the needle. And I'll say it, like in the absence of systems and processes, shit just doesn't get done or shit gets missed. And, maybe the things that are getting missed right now in your business are infrequent and maybe they're inconsequential, but just wait.
Yeah.
The longer you go on and the more work that you're doing, the stronger the likelihood that something much more significant and some things that are going to happen much more frequently, they're going to have a negative impact on your top and bottom line revenue, your customer experience, your reputation. So be aware. Do what you can for systems and processes. Roll up your sleeves like Joe here and find what works for you and stay focused on getting those things implemented.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man.
And I think they'll also help you sleep better at night because, like, when you have all these like random things orbiting your head, which we all do, and I do right now, like they're just constantly weighing on you, right? Whether you realize it or not. And it's a constant state of like anxiety or stress or fight or flight or whatever that I think so many entrepreneurs experience. Having some more systems and processes can help. Yeah.
Dude, my wife's like, you're fucking nuts. I mean, I wake up and check my email 7 times throughout the night.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And she's like, what are you looking for? I'm like, I don't know. Peace of mind, right?
Oh.
And I mean, we do a good job with systems and processes. There's a lot of room for improvement, especially as we continue to grow. But it's I'm just naturally a very anxious person, so it's like, I don't know. There's opportunity for growth. For Mike Stearns, for sure. So that's my 2023 initiative.
Okay.
Right? We're gonna close out Q4, and then we're gonna create a growth plan for Mike Stearns to be better and not to check his emails 7 times a night.
Wow, that's nuts, bro.
Get a sound. Sometimes it's twice, sometimes it's 9 times. I'm sure. I mean, I would say on average, somewhere between 5 and 7. But I digress.
Wow.
What do you, for people that are, let's say somebody's running a business, right, and they're active on social, they're going to start maybe doing some promotion of their brand, right, and maybe it's lead forms, maybe it's just branding. I'm a big fan of like no strings attached content, like give people valuable information and build your brand's authority, their trustworthiness and credibility in advance. But whatever the case may be, somebody wants to start promoting their brand on social media. What are some things that they can do? Maybe some quick hitters that you could give them to help them in that journey to have a successful campaign?
Man, good one. So I would say you mentioned the word lens before, like put it in the lens of like the content that you put out has to be valuable for your audience, right? So we all want to know when we're scrolling through a mile a minute, like what is in this for me? Like what value am I going to get out of this, right? Maybe it's education, maybe it's some entertainment, maybe I'm going to chuckle, maybe it's something I'm going to forward to someone else, maybe it's something I'm going to get some motivation or inspiration from, but like there needs to be a takeaway, right? People are not paying to consume your content, but they are investing their time, their energy, their attention, which are probably more valuable than paying money, right? So there needs to be a takeaway for everything. Not like a call to action, but like people need to be better off after having consumed your content than before. Mm-hmm. So think about that. Like every time you press publish, press, send, go live, whatever it is, like think about like, is Michael's life going to be better for having consumed this or not, right? So that'll help you produce more valuable content, publish more valuable content. And then like what's a publish? I mean, try to as much as possible, like going back to empathy, like putting yourself in your market's shoes, in your audience's shoes. Like what questions do they have, right? Answer those questions. What are the FAQs that people in your market have? What hesitations do people have? Like when it comes to like, if you're a roofing contractor, like when it comes to like getting a roof replaced, like what, what do people think? Like for me, it's like, oh man, I'm busy, I'm traveling, I don't want to get 3 estimates, I don't have time to like, pause my work during the day and go meet with a knucklehead contractor, like who's probably not going to show up on time. Like think about all those things, those hesitations that people have, and try to put them at ease. And then share your work, like show people. Don't tell people that you're great. Like show people your work, show your testimonials, show your reviews, show your team, like document your team meetings, take a picture, like let people know there's a team behind you, not just like a truck in a truck. So there's a bunch of different things you can do, but yeah. And then another thing is a local business is really effective to grow your following is to do some community highlights, like highlight other local businesses in your area, right? Because you're going to be able to tap into their audience. Maybe if they have the wherewithal, they're going to share your content or something like that. Maybe feature you in their content so you can kind of cross-pollinate audiences. And that's a great thing to do once a week or once a month or whatever you do. So yeah, there's a lot you can do. But think about ultimately, number one, you want to get people to know who you are, and then number two, you want to get people to trust you and with their homes, properties, problems, whatever. So whatever you can do to get people to know you, to trust you. If they like you, that's cool too, but they don't have to.
They don't.
Like I don't know. The know, like, and trust thing. Like I think know is important, trust is important. Like there's some people that I work with that I don't like, service providers that I don't really like. Like I don't want to go have a beer with them, but like I know them and I trust them enough to like do a good job.
Well, I mean, you think about it, right? Like if you walk in, like let's say you go to a doctor and you've got like some terrible, like very seriously concerning things going on, and you've got this very likable 30-year-old doctor who seems cautious as far as his diagnosis, lacks confidence, and then you've got this old, crass 68-year-old doctor who seems like his bedside manner couldn't be worse, but you believe what he's saying just because of the level of confidence and what he's saying as far as cases he's seen like this. Who would you rather have treat you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take the old grumpy guy.
Yeah, totally. No, that's such a great point. Yeah, it really is.
So you'd mentioned something earlier, and I wanted to touch on it, and then, we just kept moving along with this beautiful content we're creating. Thanks to you, no thanks to me. As far as you had talked about, like an admin, a secretary, a wife, whomever is like at the forefront of, let's say, a social media initiative or marketing in general, right? Even an in-house social media or marketing manager. You had discussed talking about like what are people saying in the community? What type of objections is your sales team getting? I mean, what type of shingles have we installed, right? Do we notice that 70% of our installs over the last year have been this specific color, this specific SKU? Would you say like that would be overthinking it, or would you work to find things like that and say, you know what, our market really responds to black gutters because we noticed an uptick over the last 3 months of percentage of black gutters we installed. So maybe that picture that we show, if we don't have video, maybe we talk about the black gutters and show those to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially when it comes to things that are more aesthetically focused, like gutters or windows, like black windows are a thing now. And, if you're an interior contractor, like kitchen remodels and things like that, again, like your market's already doing their research. Like they're, maybe looking online, maybe they're looking at different options. Maybe when they're starting to think about like, oh, my roof is old and shitty, like maybe they're just, having an eye open when they're driving around the neighborhood, like what looks nice. And so, yeah, that can be cool. Like, hey, a lot of our clients like this charcoal look, or like the black gutters or the black windows, or this type of door, that sort of thing. If people are doing their research and you're popping up and you're providing value and you're providing them with inspiration and things like that, like you're just kind of build that reciprocity, right? They're like, oh yeah, Michael's always putting out this great content. Let's give him a shot. He seems like a nice guy. And that's as simple as that. You don't need to overcomplicate it. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously solar is very popular these days. So there's a lot of questions you can answer on social media or YouTube about solar and how that all works and things like that. Whatever it might be. But yeah, those are cool. I mean, people look at like what the trends are and things like that. So yeah.
How should somebody go about establishing their marketing plan, let's say a $3 million company, how would you break down kind of how you would land on figuring out where they should invest their money?
Man, that's like a whole other episode, as you probably know. Let me see.
This is the precursor to the next one. So
All
we'll
right.
just get a short, concise answer, and then we'll elaborate on
All
the
right.
next
Well,
one.
like, okay, so this guy I talked to before, I mentioned, we'll just use him.
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Indiana. We'll use him as a case study. I think they're like, he said they'll hit 1 million this year, and next year's goal is 3 million. Very typical place to be, right? Or it's very typical aspirations to have. I love it, right? It's funny, like in this industry, when you talk about like 1 to 3, you're tripling your business in 1 year. Like that is unheard of in most other markets. Like maybe a marketing company or a roofing company. Like there's not many other industries where you're like, oh yeah, like I'm going to triple, and the other person's like, oh yeah, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's awesome. I love it. I love the entrepreneurial aspect of this industry. It's just like it's awesome, right? Even if you land at 2, you double your business. Like that's not too shabby. So really, like it's like, all right, well, what are you doing now? Like, how many leads are you getting in? Where are they coming from? Like, what's that look like right now? How many appointments do you have per week right now? And then at 3 million, all right, well, like back into it, right? Like, what's your average project size? Is it 12 grand? Is it 18 grand? Is it 30 grand? Whatever it is. What's your average project size? So therefore, how many projects do you need on average to hit 3 million bucks? All right. So how many is that? If you want to break it down per month, I think a per month is a good way to do it. So, all right, well, you need, 12 projects a month, whatever it is. Now, in order to get 12 projects, how many appointments do you need? Well, maybe you need, 24 if you're closing at a 50% rate. And then to get those 24 appointments, how many leads do you need? Well, maybe you need, 36 or 40 or whatever it is. All right, so you need 40 leads a month next year for the 12 months. Is there any seasonality there? Are you up in upstate New York? Are you in, Texas where you can roof all year long? There's going to be seasonality, right? So maybe you need, 20 leads in January, February, and then you need to ramp up to 40, 50, 60, whatever. And then like, all right, well, you're at 10 leads a week or 10 leads a month right now, or 20 leads a month right now. So you need to double your lead flow, right? So where's that going to come from? So usually it's a combination of things, right? It could be, you're going to get more referrals as you start doing more business. Like what can you expect from Facebook? What can you expect from Google? Are you going out there and door knocking? I like predictability. So like, yeah, you can say, all right, as I do more work, like I'm going to get more referrals. Like that's cool, but you can't really count on that. With advertising, say it's like social media or Google or whatever, you have a little bit more predictability there. Where, if leads are slow and you have a good campaign, maybe you throw some more money into that campaign if you need some more leads that month. But I like to look at the numbers, reverse engineer it. And then when you have those weekly meetings, like part of EOS, you look at your scorecard. And for us, it's like number of appointments every week, and we have that goal there. And when that starts dipping, like for a few weeks, like, well, what's going on? We need to take action on this right away. And that's part of part of executing a marketing plan is like being able to look at that every week and be like, all right, where are we compared to like our goal, our benchmark, and how can we make adjustments like right now? So I don't know. That's kind of a succinct way to put it.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And document and know your numbers, guys.
Yeah, and everything.
I think is what. Yeah, right. Because it's really hard to have that conversation with Joe here if you don't know how many. Like, okay, for instance, you want this many sales. You would need this many roofs, this many appointments, and it's going to take this many leads to get you that many appointments. If you don't know what percentage you or your guys are closing at, it makes it very challenging for anybody to come close to being able to make that a math problem. You want to make in my mind, you want to make these things a math problem, right? So it's like, it's an equation, and I know that we can plug and play and scale these numbers as we kind of need to the best of our ability. Now, that's not going to be a perfect science every time, so I'm not saying that, but that's the best way to predict future outcomes would be taking a data-driven approach as opposed to employing recency bias, right? So in statistics, you got to have like random sampling, and there's got to be a robust sample size. So what that means is like you can't take 2 weeks of data of what you've done the last 2 weeks and say, well, shit, I closed at 87%, right? Because these are the appointments I ran. This is what I sold. And you also got to take a look at how many of those were referrals. If it's a referral relationship or a repeat customer, those are going to close a lot higher than a cold lead from Google Ads. And I love Google Ads because it brings in people that are looking for a roofer, and it's just your job to sell them, or social media, right? Even if there's some sort of brand equity established, it's not going to be as easy as somebody who's done business with you before, right? So those things all have an impact on what your closing rate's going to be. But to be able to determine that, you got to have the data.
Yeah, 100%. And you brought up a good point. Like what I did in my little exercise, I said, well, you need to double your leads from 20 to 40, right? So that's a default mode of thinking. But I kind of caught myself when you're talking about close rate, because you might not need to double your leads, right? Maybe it's working on sales process. Like maybe you need some more leads, but then you also need to do a better job through automation or whatever lead handling to convert more leads into appointments. And then through your sales process to convert more appointments into sales. And maybe through some better branding and better selling, maybe your profit margin's higher, your ticket is higher. So, you don't need to double your leads. Maybe just make a few tweaks in a few areas, and that multiplier effect is pretty awesome. So, I think that, that the whole leaky bucket, thing where, you're just pouring more and more leads into the top of the bucket, but you got holes in your bucket. If you can plug those holes, like maybe you don't need more leads, maybe it's, some other tweaks that you can make.
Yeah, me personally, I'm a big fan. Like in my sales career, I was always a hunter, right? We didn't get leads given to us, and I love that shit, right? Personally, not a lot of people do. I feel like it's a smaller percentage of people that are going to go door knock, for instance, than are going to sit there and want leads. But I think like even in a retail environment where you're bringing people your opportunities, I think it's important to have them do like sales activities as well. So I'll tell my guys like they want to scale their budget because we want more leads. I'm like, this isn't a money thing. This isn't something you need to throw more money at. Let's create some sales activity and structure around outside of like when your guys are slow, we can do these 4 things and do them consistently and track them to get leads and opportunities that are going to materialize as a result of the effort that your sales team is putting in, right? As opposed to, I always say that like leads, especially in a retail environment, leads should be a perk of working for a good company, not an entitlement.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Because how many jobs can you walk into as a salesperson, get all inbound leads where you don't have to have 5 years of experience and make 150 grand your first year?
Yeah.
Like that shit's wild to me, right? So it's like, but that all comes down to kind of setting the tone on the front end with your salespeople and then having a process-oriented system to accomplish that and to actualize that. So yeah. Again, I digress. So sorry, audience. These things excite me.
No, I know. Like we do a lot of marketing, but I do business development too. I wouldn't call myself a hunter, but like yourself. But like, those daily business development activities, whether it's follow-ups or reaching out to new people or whatever, like those are things that everyone should be doing, for sure.
Yeah. So let's see. Do you find like you guys, you train your clients on social media, right? And there's dozens of different ways that a company can go about branding, building opportunities for their salespeople and for their company. How great is it when you see a company that you train, they start doing social really well, and then they've got Google going well, they've got a nice website, they've got processes internally. How great is that for you to see, and like how great is it for them?
Happens all the time. No, I'm kidding. I wish we could say that, right? It is. It's when you have any company, like when you have more demand than you need, like that is in a position of strength, of power, whatever you want to call it. Like, because then you can say no to those projects, those prospects that are not a good fit. Like you can say no with confidence. It's almost like you're trying to disqualify your prospects. They're not trying to disqualify you, and not in like a a bully way or like a pound my chest kind of way, but like you can say no to those projects that aren't a good fit because you have a pipeline of good solid fits to say yes to. Like again, that's just gonna like we all know like you all have those projects that you have good crews for, you have good processes for, you're able to get materials and supplies, like you're able to do a really good job. They're more profitable projects, like, and that's how you continue to do those. You can make more profit and reinvest back in your business and grow. So yeah, it's an awesome thing when you have that system and you're tracking things. So like, if you need to make a push with leads or whatever, you can, turn up the dial on certain things. Like, it's control. It's control over your growth, over your future. For myself too, like when you have that predictability, you're able to hire in advance of when you need people. It's not like, oh man, it's Friday, I need people next Monday, let me go post a shitty post on Facebook to like hire some sales reps. Like, no, it's like, all right, well, like for us, we're hiring 4 people this quarter, right? We don't need them this quarter. I want them up and trained by January 1st. But like, if we didn't have that level of predictability in our business and like those systems, then I'd be scared to death of hiring people before we need them, right? So yeah, it's just all good stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mr. Hughes, I can't thank you enough for spending all this time with us in the audience. I'm sure there's a ton of value they pulled out of everything that you said, and I'm very grateful for you taking the time to be with us today, man.
Yeah, man, you're chill. You ask good questions, made it easy, made it fun. So yeah, thanks a lot, man. This is cool.
Yeah, no doubt. So if somebody's interested in having your team train them to be better on social, how would they go about inquiring?
You can check out all our stuff on contractordynamics.com. It's our website with everything linked there, our podcast, and all that good stuff, some free training videos. And if you want to connect with me personally, either on Facebook, Joseph Hughes, or Instagram at Hey Joseph Hughes, that's where I hang out. So I'd love to connect and provide value to you in any way I can.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, brother. Appreciate you, and we're out of here.